Alright, welcome back to another one. I'm with Dan from Emission Apparel and we are on a bloody dewy mission. Sun's just rising, it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful winter's day. We're sending out wide, we're on the Haines Hunter, we're a couple of hours out of Perth. Absolutely magic sunrise, we're just filming some whales, they're jumping in the background, it is absolutely beautiful. We're going to punch out about an hour and get to some dewy ground and hopefully we can get the bloody bite. So we're going to sit back here, have another coffee, watch these whales jump for a while, and then we're going to send it, baby. So we will see you at the grounds. Some people drive straight to the grounds, some people film whales on the way out, whatever you got to do. Have a look at that bloody sunrise, man. That is unreal. All right, let's get on the wheel, let's send this Haines Hunter, let's go get the bite, baby. Alright, we're at the first mark, 55 metres. Throughout the day we're going to be using various products. That's going to be the first weapon of choice. That's the Vex Craylord. It's a 200 gram head. Other than that, that's an old school Vex jig, 160 gram. You can get that colour, buy it, they don't really sell it anymore, but it's absolutely gun. And then the third weapon of choice, the JIGGING DHU. That's a 140 with that soft, oh, that's a hook in my finger, with that soft ocky. A little bit of swell running, she's a little bit rocky, but we're gonna have a drift, line it up and bloody send it, and hopefully we can get the bite. Oh, yep.
Are you on?
Straight on the fish. It's not huge. Baby Jew. Alright, that's what she's looking like now. We've had a few drifts, and it's been pretty quiet. That's gonna be the weapon of choice. It's an old school Vex jig. Love the black colour, 160 grams.
Are you on? Oh, did you just get railed?
Yeah, that's decent. Oh, it's a weird fight. He hasn't. I actually had a little fish. Oh, here we go.
Didn't want to turn into a big one?
Got a small bite, and I thought I actually hooked up and just left it down there. And this guy piled on. It's about bloody time because it's been pretty quiet for a while. What have we got here? Gotta be a Jewy. Not gonna lie, I'd be highly disappointed if it wasn't a Jewy. Oh, she's a floater. I love the floater. Here we go. Life is not that hard. Drop Vex jigs, catch big Jewies, baby. Absolutely frothing. Big slob Jew on the Vex jig, 160 gram, an old school colour. You can't buy that one anymore, but if you do see it in a tackle shop, grab it because they're bloody hot. Been a bit of a slow bite. It's 9:30 now. We're in about 50 metres of water. We've been searching around, doing a bit of sounding, and nothing's really been feeding until we came to this mark now. And boo, yeah, absolutely frothing. That's made me day. So let's process this thing and get down there and get another one. Lovely, too lovely. If you're sick of buying expensive split butt jigging rods that don't lock into rod holders, the Westcoast Wedgie, made in Perth, Western Australia. Simply clip onto your jig rod and stop it from spinning around. Stops the rod spinning around. Sold exclusively at westcoastsalt.net. Alright, that's what we just picked that Jewy up on. I've just mixed it up, chained it to the Vex Craylord. Let's see if we can get bit now.
Same as you.
Oh
man.
yeah. Good fish. That is a good fish. That's a Jew, brother. All right, it's blowing northerly. We got that fish, and now it's done a full 180. It's blowing southerly, absolutely howling. We've got this front just here, and that's hopefully why it's so windy. But Dan's on a good Jew here. We're ooh, that's a Jew, all right, isn't it?
Nice, man.
We're hoping that once this front passes that it calms down a bit, otherwise we'll probably be going home. Unless this is a big Jew, we might even go home anyway, cut our losses.
Jeffrey got a feed.
Ooh.
Got a few legs.
Yeah, he's got legs all right, brother. Hope he's got sea legs because it's pretty rough out here. We actually just talked about a common thing. You often get fish when that weather changes, when the drift changes. You get a fish, you land it, and you try to get on that same drift and you can't because they're feeding on that change of weather, change of wind. And that exactly happened to us now. So here's he coming now.
Not huge.
Yeah, the bloody boys. Ah!
Nice work, brother.
Oh yeah. Well, the Vex bottom, mate. Life's not that hard, mate. Life is not that hard. 2 Jewies. Let's see what happens from here. But this wind is absolutely howling, man. Look at that.
Just dropped down the Vex and got this nice, what do you reckon, 700 mil, 650 Jew. As soon as it hit the bottom, bang, we're on. Bit of a flight on the way up. Thought he was bigger, but yeah.
You'll take it. Vex bottom, mate. Bit of fresh fish for bait. In a howling southerly. Oh wow. Oh wow.
He's a good one. Come on.
You got him. Beauty.
Don't go reef me.
You're getting railed, brother. That's a decent fish, isn't it?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, might not be jewfish like.
Nice.
Could be a sambo, very well could be a sambo. I'm calling sambo. It's a sambo, it's been sharked.
Been sharked.
Wow.
Dropped down and hooked up to a decent sambo. I was calling for a Jew because it got chopped in half on the way up. I thought he was going to float up, but unfortunately chopped up sambo. So what do you reckon?
There's a bit of a horse on the Vex bottom, mate.
Yep.
What do you got? 200 gram head.
200 G's, man.
Big shark followed it up and nipped half of him.
The old nip and tuck.
Smacked.
Yeah, that was a fish, bro. He reckons a pointer.
He's got a bit of poke.
Maybe.
Someone get Samson on the line. All right, we've got some toasties going here. And Dan's on in the background, getting his sambo stretch on. He's calling it for a sambo. Could still be a sneaky Jew.
Could be.
We're struggling to get onto the fish now because it's so windy. Got a bit of rain. So we've given up the jigging and we're just using bottom mates, using a bit of bait, of old school. But Dan's got the bloody bite. That's not a, that's a...
Break scene. Baldy.
Baldy, little baldy. Little baldy on the 200 gram vexed.
Bit of fresh bait, dropped him down. Bit of jig did the trick and hooked him up.
Jig, twitch. All right, we said that was going to be the last drift and the last fish, but we might have a couple more once these toasties are done. Oh, not far off.
I've been calling them wrong all day though.
All right, let's see what this is. Just goes to show you got to kind of mix it up. I'm on the jig, he's on the bait. I'm not getting any bites. It's hard to actually get on top of the fish with the jig at the moment. I'm using a pretty heavy jig, but the bait is definitely out fishing me. Snapper.
Snapper. Little bugger.
Alright, you gotta know when to hold them and fold them in the chewy game, and we're bloody folding it. we're sitting at the back of the ramp. The wind did end up dropping off a bit, but the fishing definitely died off. The bites definitely slowed down, and a couple of small fish is nothing to write home about. But we extracted what we wanted to go out for, got the job done early, so we're sitting in the back. See you back at the ramp, and we'll do a bit of a rundown on what tackle we used, rods, reels, lures, and go from there. Sitting on about 26, 27 knots. It's going to be a beautiful run home. We'll see you there. Freezing cold, eh? Absolutely freezing. That's what you're left with, dewy slabs. I'm going to run through the Westcoast Wedgie. A very simple product, but it solves a serious problem. It's not the Wuhan Wedgie, it's the Westcoast Wedgie, made in Perth, Western Australia. So you buy an expensive jigging rod, split butt, but they don't lock in a rod holders. You buy it, put it in rod holder, and it flaps around like that. You're doing 40 knots, and it's banging around, banging around. The solution is the Westcoast Wedgie. Clips on to the jigging rod like that, simple, put it in, and just slide it into the rod holder. Tapered design, it'll fit into any rod holder, and it locks it in. You can see by the footage, I'm driving as fast as I want, and that rod is absolutely locked in. It's not moving, it's not going anywhere. Very simple product, but it does solve a big problem. The inspiration of actually making the product was one, my jigging rod just giving me the absolute shits bouncing around everywhere. But a couple of years ago, I bought this Saltiga S Extreme, great rod. It actually snapped, so I've actually just glued it back together there. But right where, let's take that one out. Put that there. Right where it used to hit, bang, 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 jiggling around, it actually snapped. You can see that. Completely gone. So I was lucky enough that I caught it early and I was able to save the rod and reel, well, save the reel from falling overboard, but that's the inspiration of making this product. Just sick of jigging rods, bouncing around and breaking shit. It's made in Perth, Western Australia. There's 4 different sizes and they're all different colours. That's on my website, so they suit any rod and reel. Tapered design, so it'll fit any rod holder. A tough and durable thermoplastic, won't degrade. And they also float. High vis colours, so you'll never bloody lose them. And they're a fast fit, easy to put on and off. I take them off while I'm jigging, but you can leave them on, you can jig with them, they're not a worry. They don't really get in your way, but personal preference. Leave them on, take them off, whatever you want. Sold exclusively at westcoastsalt.net. Alright, enough of the Westcoast Wedgies. Let's go into the tackle used to catch these jewfish. So I had 2 jigging combos for the day, one heavy and one light. One's 50 and one's 30. 30 pound setup, Saltiga BJ 4000. 30 pound braid with an Assassin Pitchmaster. That's a 1.5 to 3. Probably the ideal weight for that sort of fishing. The heaviest setup, which I use most of the time, and that's basically because it's new. I've actually bought 2 of these, fallen in love with the reel. The Saltiga 15SJ, absolutely unreal. That's on an Assassin Pitchmaster 3 to 5. The combo's actually a little bit heavy for what we were doing, but I've really fallen in love with the overhead rather than the spin. I'm struggling to go back to the spin after really using the overhead on that last away trip. So I've got 2 of these now, but I'll probably put one of these on a bit lighter rod, maybe the 1.5 to 3, maybe even run 30 just to lighten it up a bit. It was a bit heavy for what I was doing, but it did do the job. I'll run through the jigs. I use a variety of Vex products all day. Dan was using the bottom meat. I didn't use much bait. I prefer to do the jigging, but I'll run through each lure. It was a tough bite as well. It was a pretty slow day, but the jig managed to get the fish. The jig that got the fish was a Vex Dewdrop, but it was in that old school black colour. That's a 160 gram jig, just with a flashy assist, no soft ocky. A bloody unreal jig. They don't actually sell or make these. they don't make them, should I say, but they do sell them. If you find a tackle shop, if you can find these, they're actually normally at a discounted rate. So if you can get hold of them, grab them and buy them in bulk because they're bloody good. An old school colour that really works. So throughout the day, the wind came and went a lot, so sometimes I was using a big jig. That's a 250. JIGGING DHU, it's got the soft ocky. That's its smaller mate. That's a 140. I dropped that down a few times. Only really got small fish on these, nothing to write home about. But the soft ocky in most circumstances does do the damage. Another item that I used out there was the Vex Craylord. That's a 200 gram head, and I do put a flashy assist on there as well, jazz it up a little bit. Once again, only small fish on that, so there's nothing to really write home about. So Dan was using the Vex bottom meat all day. People still ask, like a lot of people know exactly what they are, but there's still a lot of people that don't really know what they are, and people ask, why do you use them? The idea with the bottom meat is that you can use lighter gear. So I can use this 30-pound setup, and I can drop down a bottom meat with it. If I was to drop a paternoster rig like this, basically you need such a heavy gear to be able to drop that heavy sinker, 2 big baits, be able to wind it up each time. You're just using heavy old school gear that's just not current. So that's the idea behind the bottom meat, is that you can use the state-of-the-art rods and reels, lighter gear, and it's just easier work. One thing, like I always say, is you got to fish the fish. So what happens, fishing with a mate with a paternoster rig, right? You drift over the fish, you've passed the fish, there's no more fish on the sounder. If you've got a jig or a bottom meat, bang, you can wind it up really quick and you can get back onto the next drift to get back on top of the fish. But if you got your mate and he's using a paternoster rig, it's so hard and heavy to wind up, and he's so slow that he's going to cause you to miss those fish, because he's sitting there waiting for this guy on a big old school overhead to sit there pumping, winding up his 2 baits, and he just wastes half the day and you're missing the fish. So when I talk about fishing the fish, that's what I mean. Drop down, fish the fish, wind up quick. Once you're off the fish, bring it up, move on, re-drift, rather than just sitting there fishing absolute crap ground. So that's why we use the Vex bottom meat, and that suddenly kicked in. It absolutely howled. I love jigging. All I really want to do is jig, but sometimes you just can't. You have to use bottom meats, you have to use baits to be able to get down and get into the zone. So that's where it came into play. I did drop down a few bottom meats, not just the jigs. Alright, I'm hoping you're liking what you're seeing. As you're supposed to say on YouTube, like and subscribe, so I guess I will say that. But no, I hope you are liking what you're seeing, and if you do, please drop a comment. It really does help with the videos. And if you want a Westcoast Wedgie, awesome apparel, head over to westcoastsalt.net and grab what you need. So till next time, oo bloody roo.